Let's challenge our limitations and promote our curiosity on education and so much more. This is the No Box Podcast with Dr. T.
Hey, is this thing on? Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the No Box Podcast. I hope everyone's doing well out there, and it's always a pleasure to have you as listeners to this podcast, or you may be catching the video version, so thank you all so much. Today, we're really excited with our guest, Jim Jump. Jim Jump is a 25-year educator, brings an enormous amount of depth to his experience as an educator, as a community advocate, and I think most importantly, and what we're going to really dive in today, is his advocacy for young people and their ability to transition into the workforce in clean, crisp, and relevant ways. Jim is the founder of Jump Forward, a career development program solution. So I want to welcome Jim to the podcast and just really look forward to our conversation today. So welcome, Jim. Thank you so much for being here.
Dr. Traska, thank you for inviting me today. This should be fun.
It will absolutely be fun. So kind of jumping into this, Jim, talk to us just a little bit about you, kind of how you kind of navigated through this work and how it landed you here as really the founder of this amazing organization called Jump Forward.
Sure. I have had the wonderful opportunity to work in an education environment. My career at Lindenwood University, when I add in my time working on my master's degree, was 29 years. And in that time, I spent most of my day sitting down with individuals that knew education was important, didn't know how to exactly make those decisions, but that was part of what I helped them with. And over time, you kind of learn that that's a tough one. Yeah. A lot of people are still always trying to find where do they belong and how do they get there. And so as I did that for that many years, that was where Jump Forward kind of took off from.
That's amazing. So, talk to us a little bit, maybe about a little bit more about the concept. So,
sure.
This is an opportunity. And I've had an opportunity as well to kind of dig into this a little bit with you, sort of off mic. And you've had the opportunity to visit Lewis and Clark, talk with our team about a possible alignment with supporting our students, which is exciting. But talk to us a little bit more about the model, what it is, and really the value add that it brings to that freshman in college who might not know what they want to do, which was probably all of us, right? At some level,
yes.
Okay, I'm going to take my gen eds, I'm going to maybe explore this or that. But how does this model that you've put together with your team kind of advance or encourage students to really think in a more pointed or intentional way about what they want to be? And I think to your point, not only what they want to be, but that they belong in that career, that this is really what connects with their passion and enthusiasm.
Sure. As I would go in and talk to students at Lindenwood and see that they were ready to go out in the workforce,
right,
it was somewhat surprising, and let me explain that. I expected them to be more prepared and to have more of I know more of my plan, and I just wasn't seeing it. And so it was where I thought, you know what, we really need to back this up. You can't put that together late in the game.
Right.
So the idea of Jump Forward was you really got to do it at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And so all the components to this is how do I then become more career smart? And so the process is exactly what we're trying to get them to become. So everything we're doing is helping them understand that when I get to the end, and let me explain this. So as I was in class and saying, do you really realize that you're a liability to the company right away as they bring you on board? But if you did good research and you talk more about how you know what their product and service is and how you could affect their bottom line, right, and you could be more of an asset than a liability, right, do you think that changes the dynamic?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's where I was trying to get to. But you can't do that if you're a senior because right, you've skipped a lot of the steps.
Right.
So we're going to start from the beginning. And if you want me to kind of get into that,
yeah, please
just the
do.
process.
So when you say beginning, it's sort of like we talk about that a lot at even the community college level from a recruitment perspective. That starts before like, hey, we're going to start going after this juniors and seniors for college. Let's start really at that 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade level through programming, through connecting them into the environment, into the culture of the campus. And then over time, we hope that sort of leads to, hey, I want to attend Lewis and Clark Community College, or I want to attend XYZ College, I would say whoever's kind of working harder to kind of engage those students. So I look at that the same way. So talk to us a little bit about kind of what that start point looks like and really what happens during that continuum of experience. Because I would think by the time a student gets to college, I mean, there is I have no idea what I want to be. Some might know what they want to be. Maybe at that point they're like, well, going through this program, maybe I decide I want to try something different. So just talk to us, what that looks like what the experience would be like for a student.
And statistics and looking at it that way showed that 75% of young adults that start at the community college don't know exactly what their major will be.
Not surprising.
No.
I didn't know.
And right. And so that is partially age, partially because, and this is so true, you get told you need to do this or become this. Right. Because, and I remember my dad saying, you had to be an accountant because they do pretty well. And I had no idea really what that meant. And so no different than now. You don't have that real experience to say, you know what, okay, I'm going to put all my efforts into that, but I need more than just being told that. And so our idea with the Jump Forward program is from the beginning, they go through instruction with an instructor, and it's with the Jump Forward Career Planning Guide. And so in there, we're able to get them to talk right from the beginning. What do you want to do? Explain.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's also do some more with that. Let's do a little more background and research on what that would do for you if that's your idea right now. But we also know that students change their degree choices at least 3 times. And that's okay. That's part of the process. But in that portal that we put the students in for their instruction, there's also professional mentors that are in there. And we have people really all across the U.S. And so the student would then say, you know what, I do have a question about becoming, I'm in business, but I could do marketing, finance, accounting, management, entrepreneurship. Big, wide range.
Right.
So let's then go in and start looking at who can help me with what would that look like. And so that is really the first part of the process. And here's what I found with that and why that's important. As I've seen just the normal process, get on a computer and look at top jobs that are hot in the market, top jobs that pay and all that. That's okay, but you're really pursuing something based on what the end result is. You don't really understand it. You don't know if that's a fit. Personality testing goes into that. Am I more type A, be out in front, or not so much, more hands-on? So all that really should be discussed and not just, I want to do that. Because by the time you get into it, and it happens all the time, now that I really see it up close, I don't know if that's really for me.
Right.
And so I think, and we're finding this to be true, when I have questions, I need answers. So it's tough on an advising team. I've been an advisor 20 plus years because I haven't been that profession.
Right.
And so no question, they meet with their advisor, they have some ideas, but then they've got a lot of questions. On their way home, they've got 9 more questions. The parents really can't answer them because they haven't done it either. And the parents really are expecting that to take place in the school environment.
Right.
So if you could then start reaching out and saying, hey, here's what I'm wanting to know, then it's all about then getting those questions answered when you have them. Because when you delay that, it just keeps delaying how long it takes to figure it out.
Yeah.
So we're trying to accelerate that and do it on the front end.
Yeah, when in becoming more familiar with your model over the last year or so, I really like the mentoring piece that's embedded in it. I think we see that a lot with our current students. And actually, I was just in a meeting with a group of students, and the number one topic for me was, hey, Dr. T, are there mentoring opportunities on campus? I'm like, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, we want mentoring from beyond our faculty, and so are there maybe other students and other professionals that work on the campus that can help guide or give us advice? And I think part of the premise of that is likely there's that curiosity of what else is out there, and is this career I've been thinking about really the direction I want to go in? So if I'm able to talk to a professor in accounting, even though I'm pursuing maybe welding or a process tech career or nursing, that might give them another orientation and also, as I've told the students, that gives you really if you choose to, that could be a lifelong connection.
Yes.
Or you could be in your career and you have this person kind of outside that can lend you perspective or ideas. And so, so in saying all that, talk to us a little bit about how that mentoring model has come to fruition, and what sort of success you've seen with that.
Sure, and you made a good comment about networking, and really, as we were in school, you always heard that word networking,
right,
because there's really value in it.
100%.
Right, and so it's no different. And as you then begin that process, you start to find that. And in this Jump Forward program, our mentoring is huge. And here's the other upside to that. If you go to Michigan, Notre Dame, USC, Harvard, you already are in the club and you have that network.
Yep.
But at the community college, you don't.
Right.
And so we're trying to create that for students so that if I want to talk to somebody that's a mentor in New York or a mentor in Chicago, they can give me more information, what the landscape's like, what the job market's like. And so those are the things that, without question, you need to know those kinds of things to obviously make decisions that you think are going to continue to help you get to where you want to go with an idea of what that outcome might look like.
That's fantastic. So why don't we take a break?
Sure.
And when we get back, we'll dig in a little bit more with Jim around not only the successes he's seen with Jump Forward, but what this long-term passion and vision is for Jump Forward. So thanks all for listening. See you in a bit.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but dental hygiene could have been my thing. Or my path could have been conservation.
Welcome back, everyone. So with us today in the studio is Jim Jump, founder and just creator of the Jump Forward process. So program, company.
By the way, Ken, do you like the name, the Jump Forward name?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I wanted to ask how possibly did you come up with that, right? So we've talked a little bit, right, about, some of the successes you've had, kind of your background, and obviously you can't do this work by yourself. So I think I'm interested, and I know the audience would be like, talk to us about your team, like the professionals around you that are really helping move Jump Forward, and then let's dig into that a little bit, and then go from there.
All right. So I started my initial outreach with schools and with the concept, and knew that's a lot to do yourself, and so Dan Coddington is a professional salesperson that a very good friend. Both our kids went to high school together. And he met me and said, I want to help you. And that was a perfect match. And then on the technical side, Joe Clote is in St. Louis with Publishing Concepts. And he did my student portal, also does all the marketing and any of the kind of behind the scenes website and all that. And I couldn't have asked for anybody better. This guy really is as good as it comes as far as the St. Louis market goes. And as we built the portal, let me just tell you a little bit about the features that Joe brought with that. And as the students go in, they build a profile, so it's kind of what they're used to, and then they have a list of things that they can see and work on. If they're in a class, they actually then can watch the progress of taking the class. We bring some of the mentors on campus, and so they can see that scheduled. But if we have a school in New York and a school in Chicago, they still see all the same information, because somebody may say, you know what, I could be there and I might want to go and listen to. So the mentors are brought in, and we want them to be in front of students, because as we met with Concordia Chicago, that's the thing they wanted the most. Students are not getting out and doing some of this kind of work on their own. So they really like that feature. So that's part of it also. And then they also get to work with the professionals, and everything is done where it's 24/7 as opposed to I got to schedule time or a meeting and do different things. And then when they get into building things like their career resumes or doing the interview skills, same thing. There's actually individuals that get on with them and talk them through it, or say, I want you to watch this and work on this. So it allows, again, for the best use of how to get them where they need to go, when they need to do that. We don't want to work on a resume right away, because you don't even know what you want to do. And so as you get into the Career Smart Guide and you start working through just the front end of, okay, where am I going? Then there's strategies in this book. So now you're prepared for that interview, because you have worked you through the process so that you now, in what we call being career smart, they hopeful at the end. I want to say more than hopeful, building an actual career plan. And so with that, in the career plan, they're building things in there like, what did I do? And what does that look like? What are my strengths and weaknesses? Because again, let's not wait to the end, because you will then know what those are or what you need to work on in some cases, so that it looks like you really are prepared, as opposed to, well, here I am, and now somebody's asking me these tough questions.
So, we talk about kind of the potential partnerships with colleges, universities. You alluded to sort of getting to these students sooner. Can you talk to me a little bit about what's happening at that high school level, or what's perhaps planned at that high school level? And then the other question, kind of following up on that, is, we know that it's kind of this next generation, and we're seeing it even on our campus as we think about the future of our own educational model and how access looks and how it sounds, and getting students to say, okay, here's my Career Smart book that I have to work through. How are you all thinking about making sure that the interaction or the engagement is intuitive and relevant and interesting, based on what we know about this next generation of students? And it's not like a negative. It's like, it's, I want it now. I want to move forward. But at the same time, I'm trying to coach these students on being, I love the idea of being career smart, being more in touch with really what I think I can be successful with, rather than just sort of flying by the seat of my pants. So talk to us about what that high school kind of engagement looks like beyond the college, and then what's happening with the Jump Forward model to create more of an intuitive sort of engagement, to make sure that it works, right? That students are, feeling good about what they're doing.
You've said the word more than once, and that is, what we're trying to create is engagement. Yeah. So how do you keep them involved? Yeah. How do you keep it relevant? Engagement. Yeah. And so if you're talking to professionals, you're being engaged. If you have an actual instructor taking you through the first 8 weeks, and then they get in an independent study, because it's all part of continuation, it's engagement. And so without a doubt, that's where we, I think, are different. So Handshake and Focus, those are good products, but they're static. And so you get in, you get to do things and see things, and it's all beneficial. But what we're different is we actually have somebody that's going to talk to you when you have a question. We got an instructor with you to get you through those things that we know are going to help you get further along to become career smart. So I, without a doubt, put a lot into that side of the equation, because you can hand stuff off and say, here you go, and man, it doesn't always work.
Right.
As you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we see that more and more. I mean, even in talking with professors, it's just, we're continuing to try to refine our own approaches to make sure that what we're doing is relevant, that students stay engaged, and that it works for them, so that when they move to that next level, the experience is really an extension of the last good experience, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So maybe kind of a close to a final question is what, like, I'm interested in Jump Forward. I'm, a student at a high school, or I'm in college. What are the first, what, no pun intended, what are the initial jumps I have to make to kind of get into your portal? And maybe is there a way that a student could experiment, like be on a trial? Hey, you have a 7-day trial to mess around, set up a profile, and sort of test this out. Like, what does the process look like for a student, or even a parent for that matter, that's interested in really helping guide their student a little bit more based on the model that you have? Just talk to us about what that looks like.
Sure, and we had to create it as a company, and so along with college being a primary target, we also know there are individuals out in the marketplace that need to come in and get refocused. What do you really have as skills? What do you need to really look at or get help with? And so we do what's called every other month we have open enrollment, where we can recruit people to come in. They get the instructor, they go through the same things. And so that is our way to engage in local communities and help them with that same big piece that they're always working on. And then we also are partnering with companies where we're looking at contributions by those companies so that they also can be mentors in the program. They can get some of this new talent, and then they can also help us to keep our cost in line with what it would be for students at a college or come in under the open enrollment. And as we're now working in the high school system, this is another opportunity to, which we kind of alluded to earlier, that they're already thinking about it and curious about what a career might look like. And so we have a chance to work with the Lutheran high school system and be a feeder to the Lutheran Concordia colleges, because we've had meetings on both sides, and it looks like that's something that that's going to be starting this fall.
So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and not 100% away from Jump Forward, but having been an educator for 28 years, being in an advising role, being in a director level role. I know at one point, having known you for many years, is the number of students that you influenced, in a positive way, that you guided. A lot's changed in education, even in the last 5 years, in terms of what the expectations are from the consumer perspective, like the student wanting, like we just sort of danced around that a little bit with how do we keep students engaged? How do we keep the work, the studies, the process relevant to them? Just as an educator, as someone who's been passionate about this work for your entire career, what worries you about the future of education, and what excites you most about the future of education?
Well, there's always going to be worries, because getting people that are able to stay with and build something is complicated. And companies worry about that too, because we're all free agents now. And so I can go across the street and do something over there and get paid perhaps better. And so that is something that we're trying to, with the mentoring side, give them a sense of, man, there's a real nice future here. I might want to stay with this, as opposed to, I know nothing, I like what they might start me at, and let's go give that a try. So I think we're trying to slow that down and show the value of that.
Yeah.
So that would be the case there. But on the positive side, it's a pretty good time to be either looking at a 4-year. I can go out and my oldest son's 7 years. He's a lawyer, and so that was a path that delayed getting a real job, but it was a fit for him, and it's a good career. So those good careers are still there, but the trades have really emerged, as you know, and it's here at Lewis and Clark, and we're at SWCC, and it's a very big part of what they do, and so that is probably one of the exciting new things that bring this back to where the hands-on. I worked some years at Rankin Technical College, and just seeing what they do on a daily basis to hone that skill, man, you've got to have that because it really keeps us as a good producer and competitive in the marketplace. And I think that's what's exciting now is we saw those years where white collar was sending jobs away, and now it's not the case anymore. And so we should all be happy about what we're seeing there.
Well, that's good stuff. Well, listen, so listeners out there, you may be interested in how do I learn more about this great model? I want to meet Jim. So talk to us, Jim, a little bit about, what's the best way to get in contact with you. We'll have all that available
Sure.
also on screen for our listeners. But if I'm interested, how do I get in touch with you, Jim?
My website is www.jump-forward.com. And so on there kind of shows how all this works. My phone number, and I'll give that out, is 618-447-6929. My email address, we can give that to jim.jump@jump-forward.com. So any of those will reach me. We certainly are excited because there's just so much behind developing and getting people ready for the workforce. Everything you read is about the workforce. And that is through all the trade magazines to all the predictors of Forbes to you name the companies, because it all affects our local and national economies. And so they want to tell those stories, and I think we would like to be a part of that story.
Well, thank you, Jim. Well, this has been an amazing half hour or so. Thank you for the great work you're doing with Jump Forward, and thank you for your commitment and quite frankly, just your passion for education and for helping our young people, this next generation, be the most prepared they can for their jobs moving ahead. So thank you, Jim, for joining us. We look forward to having you back in the future. And again, thank you all out there listening. We appreciate you tuning into the No Box Podcast. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.